So now if you look at the verse, Munaya sadhu prishtoaham bhavadbir lokamangalam yatkrita Krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy because they relate to Lord Krishna and so are of relevance to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of completely satisfying the self. So this is a specific statement which is reflecting the train of thought of the Bhagavatam. Now, first of all, what is the Bhagavatam? The Bhagavatam is the scripture of India. It's written in the Sanskrit language, and it's telling how we can be ultra conscious or Krishna conscious. It is a goal given in the Bhagavat to actually have a constant state of meditation called samadhi. Why is this samadhi state so important? Why do you have a whole book aiming at becoming conscious of Lord Krishna? What is the deal? The deal is that there is a difference between the material world and the spiritual world. The whole train of thought of the Bhagavatam is starting from the very beginning by saying that Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadi Asya Yataha Anvayad Itaratas Chachesh Abhigya Svarat. Immediately the book is establishing that the person known as Vasudeva, the son of Vasudev, in other words Krishna, his father's name was Vasudev, his mother's name was Yashoda. He was playing a pastime of being a child to parents. And in that way he went about having what we call leelas, or pastimes, with his devotees who also took birth surrounding him. Some were elder, some were younger, some were on the same age. He had friends, he had relatives, he had a mother and father, he had people younger than him. In that way he seemingly played the role of a human being. However, he also showed his supernatural qualities by his leelas. For example, he's lifting the Govardhan hill on his little finger, and he's speaking the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, he's telling that he is Bhagavan. He's beyond the modes of nature. So the concept of Bhagavatam, and indeed of all the Vedic literature, is that there are two things. There is matter and spirit. The material side is composed of what we call modes of nature. That is Tamagun, or mode of ignorance, Rajagun, or the mode of passion, and Sattvagun, or the mode of goodness. Everything in this material world is composed of these three modes of nature. They're also called gunas, which means they are binding us. One is worse than the other. The best one is goodness. Rajagun is worse, and Tamagun is the worst. Tamagun is the ignorance, which creates the potency of forgetfulness, or avidya. We seemingly have a lot of knowledge, but the knowledge is not going in the direction of the spiritual enlightenment. And that's why it's called the opposite of actual knowledge, avidya. So vidya is given in the Bhagavad. It's also called transcendental knowledge. And the questions which we talk about in this verse 1 to 5. Actually, Maharaj Parikshit has been asking a question. And that is, what is the duty of the human being at the time of death? And such questions are very important for humankind. And they relate to Lord Krishna. And they are relevant to the world's welfare, because Lord Krishna is stated to be the Lord of the world. Aham sarvasya prabhavaha matta sarvam pravartate. Everything is coming from Krishna. In that way, he has the whole world in his hands. So such questions about the nature of Bhagavan or the Supreme Lord, they are capable of completely satisfying the self. If we indeed believe in such questions and answers, we can dive into that. So Prabhupada is explaining in the purport, since it has been stated herein before that in the Bhagavatam the absolute truth is to be known, the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya are proper and just, because they pertain to Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth. In Bhagavad Gita 15.15, the Personality of Godhead says that in all the Vedas there is nothing but the urge for searching after him, Lord Krishna. Thus the questions that pertain to Krishna are the sum and substance of all the Vedic inquiries. The whole world is full of questions and answers. The birds, beasts, and men are all busy in the matter of perpetual questions and answers. So the whole world is rolling on that. However, that is the material world. So similarly, the spiritual world is also being achieved and activated by questions and answers. That's why all the Vedic scriptures are usually in the style of samvada. Samvada means discussion. There is a speaker and there is a listener. And in that way, knowledge is transmitted. The kind of knowledge which is transmitted in the Vedic scriptures is called Shabda, Pramanam. It's sound evidences. One sage is telling something that a previous sage has said before, or that he has heard directly from Bhagavan Sri Krishna or from one of his incarnations. Rabani Murtishu Kalani Amena Tishtam, Anavataram, Akarod Ibaneshu Quint, Krishna Svayam Samabhavat. Krishna is a personality who has given so many incarnations, such as Lord Ram, even Lord Nishingadev, the half-lion, half-man incarnation. Each of the incarnations, when they appear, they are speaking philosophy. Some are speaking more philosophy than others. And Krishna is the supreme in speaking philosophy. That's why his Bhagavad Gita is the main book to learn the ABC of spiritual philosophy. So in the Bhagavad Gita, then Krishna is speaking about the trouble of the material world. The trouble is called duality, or Dvaita. He says you can sum it up in two things. It's love and hate, raga and dvesha. Raga means love and dvesha means hate. Or you can say in a different way, accepting and rejecting. Raga dvesha vyavastitau. Tayurna vasam agachet. Tavi asya paripantinau. Yeah. He says there are principles. Yeah, indriya syarte ragadvesha vyavastitau. So our senses are taking in information and we are accepting and rejecting according to, you can say, our brain. However, Krishna says we shouldn't be controlled by such acceptance and rejection or love and hate, because they are hindrances on the path of self-realization. Now, how can that be? We think sometimes that what we like and hate, that is the correct thing. However, as years are passing by, later we may find out that our love and hate, or acceptance and rejection, was pretty much colored by our, you can say, association. All the people we were together with, shaped our opinions, or we got shaped by you can say the culture in general, in the society. Our own state of mind, what we are going through in our life, can also shape what we think, both in the positive and negative direction. And later on, when our life is in a different position, we may think otherwise. So in other words, our love and hate is relative. However, the acceptance and rejection given in Bhagavatam is of the absolute nature. That sounds scary, but it's supposed to be actually getting us rid of the fear. Bhayam Dvitya Abhinaveshatashat said that actually our fear is coming from the dualities of desire and hate. Ishat Apetasya Viparyo Asmriti. It said that our love and hate in this material world, it makes us forget Krishna, it makes us forget God, and thus we are bewildered by these dualities, and we are unsure of even the purpose of our own existence, or to speak about the existence in general. However, when we take to the proper questions and answers with the Guru, who is the representative of God. Now, mind you, the Guru can be of the two kinds. One is the initiated Guru and one is the regular teacher. Regular teachers of spiritual knowledge are many. The initiator or Diksha Guru, they are few. Usually we are having our questions and answers with the many teachers. And these are important. We should, however, find teachers that are qualified and who know the scriptures and who practice themselves. In that way, our questions and answers can be fruitful. It's explained that we should trust the teacher, otherwise why should we waste time asking questions and listening to what he says? He or she should give us an assurance that what they say is correct by their behavior, by their experiences. They should be able to help us in our lives. If we don't feel we get help from the teacher, then we should rather get another teacher which we feel more aligned with and which we feel is actually giving us something. So that's the idea about the Guru-Shishya relationship, the relationship between teacher and student. So Prabhupada goes on to write in the purport here, the birds, the beasts, and men are all busy in the matter of perpetual questions and answers. And in the evening also the same birds. Oh, wait a minute. In the morning the birds in the nests become busy with questions and answers. And in the evening also the same birds come back and again become busy with questions and answers. Human being, unless he is fast asleep at night, is busy with questions and answers. Sometimes we are even talking with ourselves in the sleep. And we're getting answers maybe in our dreams. Yeah. The businessmen in the market are busy with questions and answers, and so also the layers in the court and the students in the schools and colleges. The legislators in the parliament are also busy with questions and answers, and the politicians and the press representatives are all busy with questions and answers. Although they go on making such questions and answers for their whole lives, they are not at all satisfied. Satisfaction of the soul can only be obtained with questions and answers on the subject of Krishna. Okay, let's stop there and digest this. So the questions and answers about Krishna is yet to be discovered by us. They are there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they're establishing the qualities of Bhagavan. He is the most beautiful, he is the most strong, he is the most renounced, the most famous, the most wise, and so on. Now these qualities also everybody has in different degrees. However, it's said that Bhagavan Sri Krishna has these qualities in full, and they're not decreasing by time. And the soul who is lucky to get to know Krishna can fall in love with Krishna and thus want to come to Krishna. Yeah. So Prabhupada, he explains about that. He says Krishna is our most intimate master, friend, father or son, an object of conjugal love. So here Prabhupada is mentioning that one can have relationships with Bhagavan. For getting Krishna, we have created so many objects of questions and answers, but none of them are able to give us complete satisfaction. All things but Krishna give temporary satisfaction only, and answers about. So if we are, I'll take that again. All things but Krishna give temporary satisfaction only. So if we are to have complete satisfaction, we must take to the questions and answers about Krishna. Yeah. So Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa Sairvair Aham Eva Vedyo. Of all the Vedas I am to be known. Vedanta Krit Veda Videvacham. I even put together these books. Yeah. We cannot live for a moment without being questioned or without giving answers. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam deals with questions and answers that are related to Krishna, we can derive the highest satisfaction only by reading and hearing this transcendental literature. One should learn the Srimad Bhagavatam and make an all-around solution to all problems pertaining to social, political, and religious matters. Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna are the sum total of all things. And that was the end of the purport. Thank you. So, let's look at the verse again. As we usually do when we have read the commentary, then we look back at the original verse. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Your questions are worthy. So the idea is to have worthy questions. You can say we all the time need to know, you can say, temporary things that are maybe not that important. However, when we are talking with people of spiritual knowledge, we should rather use our time more wisely. That's the idea. Because it's valuable time both for them and for you. If you at all believe in this, then we can actually gain a very great advancement in a short time by having the proper questions and answers with a spiritually advanced master. Is it understandable? In a very short time that can happen, because it's said that the gurus, they are very potent people. Because of their practice, they have a lot of realizations, and also on top of that, they are playing the part of being a teacher because of the order of their spiritual master, who got ordered by his or her spiritual master, and so on, all the way back to Krishna. That's the idea of the parampara. And one can actually only learn about Krishna through such a chain of disciplic succession. Krishna, he says that, at least in the Bhagavad Gita, evam parampara praptam. He says, you can only know about this knowledge about me through the parampara. Or in other words, he can be achieved. Knowledge about Krishna can be achieved, or even he himself can be achieved through the parampara. There is a sense of absolute here, that if you know about Krishna, you have Krishna. If you hear about Krishna, you are with Krishna. If you chant about Krishna, you are also with Krishna. If you think about Krishna, you are also with Krishna. This is the absolute situation. Advaya Jnana Tattva, Brahmeti Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. The Lord is realized gradually, but it is of the absolute nature. So even hearing about Krishna will make one infused with Krishna's energy gradually more and more. As such, just reading one verse of the Bhagavatam is very much blessed. However, reading one verse, one sentence in the newspaper is not blessed in the same way. That's the idea, and the train of thought of Bhagavatam is that we should utilize these, we can call them portals, that Krishna has put out in the material world. It's explained he has put himself out in the form of the deity. The Lord has a form, and it can be shaped according to descriptions in the books of the Vedas. The auxiliary books about temple worship and so on are describing also the forms of the Lord to be worshipped in the temples. And so it is bona fide, it is authorized to make actually shapes of the Lord. According to his different incarnations, you can make the shape. So Krishna's shape is of a coward boy, so in that way his form will be like that. Lord Rama's shape, as we mentioned before, another incarnation, he is shaped as a royal person, actually a king, and he is carrying the bow and arrow as his weapons. Lord Krishna, however, is not having any weapons, he is carrying the flute. if you want to worship Lord Nrsimhadev, Krishna's half-man, half-lion incarnation, then you will need to have the shape of the half-man, half-lion. And his weapons are his nails. Tava Karakamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringam. Lord Nrsimhadev has wonderfully pointed nails. And with these nails he was killing the demon Hiranyakashipu, Dalita Hiranyakashipu, Tanubringam. And this demon Hiranyakashipu, he was like a wasp, like a, which wants to sting you, like this aggressive insect. Keshavadrita Nara Hari Rupam Jai Jagadishaya. We say our obeisances to Lord Nrsimhadev, who came as a half-man, half-lion incarnation. Krishna, however, he came as Swayam Bhagavan. Eta Chamsa Kala Pumsa, Krishna's two Bhagavan Swayam. All these incarnations have been mentioned, of Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Ram and so on. And Krishna is also mentioned, and Krishna is coming personally. He's actually not an incarnation, he is Swayam Bhagavan, he is personally coming. In that way, he is the topmost person to be worshipped. And the book of Bhagavatam is specifically pertaining to Krishna. And in that way, it's the highest welfare work to speak and hear about Krishna for oneself and also for others, if they are interested. That's the other thing, that people are maybe not interested. It's said that one shouldn't speak about Krishna to people who are not interested. So in that way, I hope you who are listening to this is interested. Otherwise, you may want to not listen to this anymore. But in any case, if you're interested or not, just to have a good day, we can chant the whole name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Even if you are a religious person, spiritual person or not, this mantra is very helpful for getting peace in the mind. And it's also burning up the bad karma. In this age of Kali, it has been said to be the best method to get rid of all the trouble we have in the Kali Yuga. What to speak of, being spiritual. Just to get rid of the troubles, this Hare Krishna mantra is most helpful of all the methods given in the Vedas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. After chanting this mantra a lot, those who are devotees of Krishna, they like to chant it very often. However, the mantra is absolute. You can chant it little or much, as you please, and you can still enjoy the maximum effect. It's said that worship of Krishna is so wonderful, or spiritual life is so wonderful. It's likened to when we are offering the food to the Lord. We also have a practice where we're offering whatever we're going to eat. We simply make an offering to the picture of Krishna, or the spiritual master who is representing Krishna. And that food we are just putting in a little cup, which is Krishna's personal cup, or in a bowl, which only Krishna is using, not us. And that will of course just be a small portion maybe of the whole amount we are cooking, which is in the pot. So in other words, we're just putting a specimen there, a sample. But when it's offered, then we can put now that item back into the big pot. We clap the hand 3 times to finish the offering, and we put the item back into the big pot. And now, magically, spiritually, the whole pot, contents of the whole pot has now become Lord's mercy, prasadam. It's now full of spiritual strength, and it's said that this kind of food is now karma-free. It's not creating any bad karma for us. Rather, it's purifying us. So in the same way, if we just do a little bit spiritual every day, as an offering to Bhagavan, to Krishna, to God, then that little we are doing, it will fulfill the whole day as an offering. You understand? Just like you just put a small cup of offering to the Lord, and then you put it back then afterward in the whole thing. So if we can just use a little bit of time every day, maybe just 1 hour or half an hour, or maybe just 10 minutes of full dedication of our life or our day to Krishna, then that offering will make sure that we will be in full yoga gradually, our consciousness will be so strong that the whole day will be actually spiritual, because we are doing a great endeavor for a small part of the day. And that part of the day will then actually gradually increase. And the idea is to achieve something called samadhi, or full consciousness of the Lord. And so all these questions that are in the Bhagavatam is going in that direction. Now, however, there is a small problem, which I mentioned, and that is the raga and dvesha, the material likes and dislikes. When we get into that, then it's taking our mind away from the spiritual absolute situation. So they are there, we cannot get away from them. They are functions of the mind. The function of the mind is actually raga and dvesha, to accept and reject. However, when one practices spiritual life, and gradually one is transcending not only the body but the mind also. And the mind's ideas are not so protruding to us as a soul. In other words, we can tolerate the coming and going of hate and desire in the mind, or love and hate. We can kind of be more mature than our own mind. And that can happen by spiritual intelligence, which we are gaining from reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. It's called buddhi. You heard about Buddha, right? So Buddha, he was doing that. He was meditating and controlling his mind. He didn't become swayed by his mind. In that way he could attain the samadhi, which is in the soul itself. So that means that the soul is different from the mind. Above the mind is the intelligence, and above that again is the soul. This also Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. And that's why, with the weapon of transcendental knowledge, we should cut over the attachment to have to these temporary, you can say, good and bad things in the material world. We are observing the good and bad things. We are navigating according to them. For example, if there is a rotten apple, we will not eat a rotten apple. We rather have, the good apple. However, we can still be detached when we are doing these things. It is an art. Yoga, kaushalam. Krishna says this is the art of yoga. But the more we do it, the more we will be situated in the highest mode of nature, which is the goodness. From the goodness, we can gradually realize that we are actually transcendental to the material nature. It's a gradual process, because love and hate is connected with the mode of passion and ignorance. If you're only operating on that platform of material love and hate, unfortunately then we can have no perfection of life, spiritually speaking. Of course you can have material perfection of life by being very expert in this world. However, at the time of death, it is required actually for a good transfer to the next body, or transfer to one of the spiritual planets, that we also practice the mode of goodness. So in that way, Bhagavatam especially is urging us to try that out. And the whole story of Bhagavatam is of the dying king. He is cursed to die in 7 days. In a similar way, we also have a shelf life, you can say. Sorry for the usage of the words, but it's like you buy milk and it cannot last forever. It can last for a long time. But at one point it will not be possible to drink that anymore. So we are drinking, the elixir of prana, or life air. The life air is not us, but it's operating in our body, and it makes us able to use our senses. We can open and shut our eyes by the life air. We can speak by the life air, combined with the fire. So that fire is also operating inside of us. Water is also there, earth is also there, and you have the sense of touch, which is operated by the air also, and we have space, by which sound is traveling. So all these things are not us; they're just there for our existence in the material world. Just like we have a house, we're not the house. You have a car, we're not the car. In the same time, we are very attached to this, and we need to use these things. But we can do it in a detached way. Just like if we drive in the car, or back to the train, we're in the train may break down. What do we do? Are we going to sit in that train and cry? No, we just go and find, hopefully another train which works. or we have to wait, sometime if we're stranded far away with the train, that there comes a new train, on the other line or whatever. Maybe it's a bad example, but anyway, at the end of this body, when this body is, broken, you can say, then we have to wait a little bit of time before we get the next body. And that time is explained to be the waiting time of the soul. It may be long, it may be short. But how we will feel and how we will, even enjoy or cope with that waiting time, it's explained in the scriptures. That's according to how well we performed in this life. If we were nice with other people, for example, if we were feeding other people, giving them something to drink, then in the afterlife, while we're waiting to have the next body, we will also be fed and drink. We will not be thirsty. We will be okay. If we were nice to other people, people will be nice to us also. That's the idea of the karma. So mode of goodness is always the platform by which we can have a best possible situation in the afterlife. And all these things are taught in the Bhagavatam. For example, if somebody told you that a cake, which looks very nice, which we wanted to eat, that cake was actually the poison. That there was poison in the cake, although it tastes good, it was poison in it. Will we take that cake? No, we wouldn't. It would be very clear. We would simply not take that cake. In the same way, the Shastra, the Bhagavatam, is explaining that some things we rather should avoid. And other things, for example, if we hear that, say we hear that the chocolate cake is full of poison, we don't want to take that. And then somebody is telling that the carrot cake is very good. It's completely organic, natural and all this. And if we eat that cake, we will actually, gain health. Wouldn't we then, rather have the carrot cake instead of the chocolate cake? This is just an example. I'm not meaning to offend anybody. We make all kinds of cakes. However, it's said that the cake we have in the material world, it is actually made of poison, because it is giving us death as the result. However, if we eat of the spiritual cake, we can get the opposite, and that is the Amrit, the nectar of immortality. It is not something which is unachievable by anybody. One simply has to be a human being. That's the first thing one has to be. And one needs to dedicate time to practice. It's also called mercy. It's not according to our own practice. Actually, everybody is given an opportunity. It says in the human form of life, we are all given an opportunity to practice spirituality or religious life on some level. Now, here comes the thing that religions and spirituality practices are given in all kinds of shapes and forms and with all kinds of different teachers according to time, place, and person or candidates. In that way, we would advise not to discriminate with other religions or with other types of practices that we not may subscribe to ourselves. We should understand that all this is part of Krishna's bigger plan, or God's bigger plan for us. Krishna or God may also come in so many different ways and shapes. But when he comes, it is a gift, and if we accept it, then it is good for our spiritual health. So thank you so much. So the questions that pertain to Krishna are the sum and substance of all the Vedic inquiries, it said here. So that way Krishna has made his identity very clear in the Bhagavad Gita, and he also does that in the Srimad Bhagavatam later on. While the birds, beasts, and men are all busy in the matter of perpetual questions and answers. So here it said perpetual questions and answers. They will go on forever, because our questions and answers are actually not satisfied on the material plane. That's why we have all the technological and philosophical material development, which is all good for the material life, otherwise we would be bored. However, in the spiritual life, it's said that there is just tradition actually. There is no technological development. There is no philosophical development also. It's all tradition, which is stable. It is not boring, because then you have a lot of room and space for having good relationships. As Prabhupada said in the purport here, Krishna is our most intimate master, friend, father, or son, an object of conjugal love. So in that way, these relationships are there. And in that way, they are fully satisfying, and one does not need to have so many material upgrades or external upgrades. Just like if one is together with friends, do you need to have the latest technology or the latest this or that? No, you can be okay with just the tradition. And that is the mode of goodness, actually, to be stable in tradition. So in that way, our practice in the Gaudiya Vaishnavism is based on tradition, and it's not really necessary to invent anything new. However, in order to share this with others, we are using the modern technology. And of course also because we are attached to this, because we are coming from the material background. And this is also called Yukta Vairagya, and it is also one of the methods of Bhakti Yoga. To use whatever we are into or attached to, which may be more or less gross, but they will all be purified, and actually they'll be spiritualized by using them in the service of Krishna. So thank you so much for tuning in. See you in a while. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.